Hi, I'm Danny from Stand Tall, and I am here today with Becky, and we're talking a little bit about confidence and how that shows up in your life. So, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. As Danny said, my name is Becky. It's Becky Fraser, and I am a business and leadership coach, and I have been for about 10 years. And I really focus on people who I describe, and they usually resonate with introverted skeptics. And the other things that I do in terms of communication, though, are I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Coach You, The Introverted Skeptic's Guide to Leadership. And I also have a podcast that's been running for about a year called Short Story Long. So I've needed to keep the communication going, but also have the confidence to keep coming up to the mic.
Yeah, that sounds like communication is very relevant for you.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
getting into the first question, what is one long-term goal you have for communication?
So I mentioned the podcast, and part of the reason that I did the podcast was because I wanted people who weren't going to be able to hire me as a coach to hear some of the experiences and things like that from all the people that I interview. I mean, it started with my story, but then interviewing other people. And what I've really decided is, of course, I want to keep that going, but I'm also looking for increasing the different ways that I can get my voice out there. And so that isn't a specific thread. So I haven't gotten that all figured out yet. It's just really how is it that that message can get out there to those who would benefit from it
Mhm.
while also, just, I don't know, lifting people up, making them feel better about how they lead.
Yeah, that's a great goal. I'm really glad that you're putting that message out there. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So, what is a strength that you would say you have in confidence or communication? Where does that show up for you?
I don't know where this started, but one of the things that I have noticed about myself is that I often hear even beyond what people say. And I get I get comments from my clients a lot where they tell me, "You're just so calm." And there are other people in my life, Danny, who would not describe me as calm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think when I hear those things, I have the courage to ask about them.
Mhm.
Where it's like, are you upset about that? Or is that hard for you to talk about? And I think that changes who I am as a coach, but I also think that that changes who I am as like a friend or a family member or anything like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really great strength to have that you can really get to the root of what a person is feeling, even when they're not really sure themselves. That's very helpful.
Yes, I find that people have the feeling, but
Mhm.
naming it is really hard. So
Yes, that's
having that
difficult.
conversation can really help someone get a little bit more in touch with those emotions or with those thoughts.
Yeah.
And especially when I'm not making an assumption about what it is, but I'm just like, well, that was different. Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah, that's great. So, what does confidence look like for you?
A lot of people think confidence is about the swagger,
Hmm.
and I'm not one of those people. I actually think that it's in our action, not in our attitude, when we think about confidence. And so it's that willingness to keep on trying.
Yeah.
Maybe that business failed, maybe that presentation failed, or whatever task it is, but that's the task that didn't work. It
Yeah.
isn't that you as an individual failed,
Mhm.
because to me, you only fail when you stop trying. And
Yes.
so to me, courage and confidence shows up when, it's that belief in yourself to keep on trying and to keep on going. And it's this whole piece of what you feed is what grows, right? And so if you keep on thinking about, oh, that was a failure, then your confidence starts to dig down.
Yes.
When you recognize that you can learn from something and then keep another effort going to try something else or try the same thing again, to me, that's confidence in yourself, and that's worth growing.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. And it can feel like when you fail at something, it defines you as a person and it takes up everything about your life that you start to think you are the failure instead of maybe this presentation didn't go the way I wanted. So I think it's really important, yeah, to keep trying and rewrite that narrative that it's not you as a person are failing or a failure. Yeah.
Exactly. We are not our worst moment.
Yeah.
And so, when we cling to that really difficult time and say, oh my gosh, this is what everyone thinks about me,
Mhm.
so many people, they don't remember that moment,
Yeah.
not as much as we do. And if we can
Yes.
learn from it and continue to move forward, then our confidence can actually grow.
Yeah. So, what do you do to boost your confidence?
So probably the biggest thing that I do is I have a couple of playlists that I use. So I'm
Mhm.
really connected to music that I listen to. And so if I need to calm down, I'll get a calming something. I've got like my easy listen list.
Yeah.
But when I need a confidence boost, then that's usually my hype list that really gets my adrenaline going. And
Mhm.
if I don't have access to that for whatever reason, sometimes I'll just do something a little bit more on the physical side of things. The other thing that I do to boost my confidence is whatever that thing that requires confidence in that moment, I create that vision of success. And this goes back to that idea of what you feed grows. And if I'm thinking about the success of whatever venture that I'm going toward, then that's actually what I'm more than likely to create for myself. And I'm also not freaking myself out with what failure looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a million ways you could imagine it going wrong, but it's so much more helpful to envision yourself being successful for
Exactly. And
sure.
high performance people, there have actually been a lot of studies that talk about how when they envision success,
Mhm.
there's one that I was thinking of that, they were doing basketball and
Mhm.
they had done a whole series of different things where one person or one group of people, rather, they would practice doing the free throws over and over and over again. And then there were a couple that, another group that they had half the time they did the actual free throws and the other half of the time they were creating the vision for themselves of the swish. And then
Mhm.
the final group was just the vision, the swish. And then afterward, the performance was actually the people who did the vision were the ones
Really?
that had the most success with it. And I just found that really fascinating because
Yeah.
think of how many things that we would be successful doing if
Mhm.
we could successfully create that vision for ourselves.
Yes, especially drawing back on evidence on times that you have succeeded, times that you did make the th free throw, and that you were proud of yourself. And if you can, collect that evidence, you can really support that idea. And you can collect evidence for your failure too. That's something that my mom, Sarah, always says is that whatever you collect evidence for is what you're going to believe. And if you can collect that evidence for success, then you can believe you'll be successful.
Absolutely. Yes. It's such a powerful thing to think about it that way.
Yeah. Well, it was great to have you here. Thank you for your perspective and your thoughts. I'm really glad that you could answer these questions, and I'm glad that we could have this conversation. So, this video will be up on LinkedIn and YouTube and the Stand Tall website, and you can stay tuned for more interviews like this with Becky.
All
Thank
right. Thank
you.
you.